a tropical island with Richard Branson. This month, not so much. If you've been following the online business space lately, you would have seen a whole lot of the leading female entrepreneurs hanging out with Richard Branson in a tropical paradise. Now, I saw some posts from this trip a few years back and immediately thought, how do I go? I want to be there next time. All the women who I looked up to in online business were there on the previous trip, and I was suffering from some serious FOMO. So I decided for the next one, I'm gonna figure out how to get on it. And I'm happy to report that after a little bit of investigative work, determination in building my business, and a lot of patience, because COVID postponed the trip by a couple of years, I just got back from Necker Island. Today, I'm going to share with you what the island is really like and what he's like in person, as well as the lessons which I picked up from Richard, both advice he gave us directly and lessons I just picked up by taking notice of his daily life and the island paradise that he has created. And then finally, I'll also share exactly how I got the invite and how you could too. So be sure to stay all the way until the end to get that. Okay, so let's start off with what the island is really like. The whole place is very Bali themed. The buildings, the decor, the names of the rooms are all very authentically Bali. There's rooms all over the island, so if you're put in some of the further out rooms, you actually get given a golf cart to drive around so you can get everywhere. The main hub of the island is the Great House, which sits on the tallest hill of the island. And then on the roof of the Great House, there is a little hot tub with a 360-degree view of the island. You can tell Richard, the mastermind of the plans of the island, had a sense of humor when he made that design choice. So our room was down a cliff from the main house, so we had a good hike and workout every time we went to and from our room. If you want our room tour, I will also link that for you in the description below. Now on the island, there is a room called the Temple, which is where a lot of business talks and charity foundation work happens. It's where we got to do a Q&A with Richard, and it's also where a group called the Elders was formed. The Elders, if you're unaware, is a group Richard founded with his charity Virgin Unite, which works to solve some of the biggest challenges facing the world today, and that was founded at the Temple, which funnily enough I could see from my outdoor shower in my room. Now, the island itself is quite large. There's windy little sandy roads all around, but no signage, so it's super easy to take a wrong turn. The island is also very eco-friendly. Richard had 3 windmills on the island, plus a solar panel park, so the island is fully energy efficient, which is not just good for the environment, but is also good for convenience. We stayed on another island for a few days before Necker, and because a storm had just ripped through, all the power on the island was out for a day, and it meant that we ate dinner in like near pitch black darkness on the first night, and none of our room cards actually worked, which in the end was fine, and it was just kind of funny. Generally though, the vibe that you get from Necker is that of a magical tropical island, and it's just as alive could be. It's crawling with fun people. Richard has so many tropical animals living there, you could easily mistake the place for a tropical zoo or animal sanctuary. The island also isn't just home to Richard, but also a lot of his staff too. There's an entire staff village where some lucky team members get to live. Granted, the island isn't big enough to house everyone who works there. They let us know there's over 180 staff which run the place. So many go to and from work on a daily ferry boat, which runs hourly to the nearby island of Virgin Gorda. So that's what the island is like, but let's talk about what Richard is like. To be honest, he is an absolute gem. He's extremely kind and gracious and humble. My friend Patricia and I played him tennis, and he was significantly better than us. It can be annoying if you're playing with people who can't return the ball well enough and therefore kept ending rallies like we did.
Having played some tennis? Yeah. With Sir Richard Branson?
No, Vic. She's never played a full game before.
No.
He was nothing but encouraging and kind, even if we kept ending rallies, and he gave us tips and tennis advice, and anytime we walked by the court and he was playing, he invited us to join him as well. And finally, as much as I expected the island to be a big party, most of the time we were actually up at 5 or 6 in the morning to join Richard for his daily morning sports like tennis, hiking a mountain, so the place is honestly pretty tame in terms of parties. But I guess that also depends on the group visiting. Apparently the group before us had been some like guys business group who spent the time getting absolutely out of hand, and the staff were pretty clear that they were thrilled when our girls group turned up. And while I didn't have a wild party every day, I did come home with a pretty fabulous little souvenir. This is a bottle of Necker branded champagne. I had heard in previous years some of the ladies had taken home a bottle as a souvenir to pop for a special business accomplishment, and so I also took one, and I decided the milestone at which I want to pop it at. I'll tell you more about exactly what that is at the end of the video, so make sure you watch all the way to see when I'll be popping my bottle. Okay, on to the next lesson I learned. The first major aha I had on the island was just how much we entrepreneurs can design our lifestyles. The term lifestyle design was first made famous by one of my favorite other entrepreneurs, Tim Ferriss, but honestly, it looks like Richard may have actually beaten him to completely actualizing the dream of lifestyle design. Richard has set up his life 100% to his liking. First, he's a super social guy, and you can tell he absolutely loves meeting people and chatting with them, and it's not at all forced for him. But it could be challenging to keep a social life going when you live on a remote island, but he decided, no problem, I'll just turn my island into a resort. The island can be booked by groups of guests, and the team let me know it's pretty much booked back to back to back with guests year round. I don't know how thrilled I personally would be to have people wandering around my home all the time, but Richard clearly has money to not have that happen. So if the island is a resort, it's definitely because he wanted it to be. My guess is he did it because he genuinely loves having people around. He spent a ton of time with our group. We weren't sure beforehand how much time we'd actually get with him, but we were all very happily surprised when we left with just how much Richard time we actually got. He joined us for breakfast and lunches and dinners, played tennis with us, took us out on hikes around Necker and a neighboring island, and also did an actual Q&A session with us too. He even drove a friend and I from the tennis courts up to breakfast on a few mornings as well. Now, coming back to lifestyle design, Richard is well known for his fun and childlike joy. How exactly do you keep that vibe going when you're in your 70s and maybe all of your friends are getting a bit more mellow? You hire a bunch of fun young staff. His staff have a fantastic time with him. They tease him, they joke around, they play pranks with him. He's not at all trying to avoid his staff, quite the opposite. His team on the island seems in a way kind of like adult children to him, keeping him young and his life kind of fun, even into his older age. And from conversations with him, he specifically recommended if there's a staff member that you're going to spend a lot of time with, be sure to choose more based off personality than on skill level. Now, coming back to lifestyle design, this man has perfected what he enjoys doing and making time for it. He loves playing tennis and kite surfing, so he had a full couple of tropical tennis courts built. He also employs 2 full-time tennis trainers on staff so he can play every single day, multiple times a day. And he also has an entire water sports team and all the equipment and toys for kite surfing and the latest rage, that like e-foiling above the water board thing, which we also got to try. In terms of work, I actually jokingly asked him when he ever gets time to get work done, and the truth seems to be he has been fantastic at hiring people and giving them all the freedom to do their job in the way that they want to. Even if those people make mistakes or even if they do it differently than he would have done. He definitely doesn't seem to work crazy hours. Of course, he is in his 70s, so it is a normal time to retire. He is still the head of the Virgin Group, but from spending time with him, I didn't get the impression that he's working around the clock like some other entrepreneurs do, even as they get older. It was very clear to me on the island that Richard determined how much social life he enjoys, the vibe of the people he likes to spend time with, his favorite hobbies and his favorite sports, and how much work time and play time that he wants. And then he designed his entire life very consciously around those choices. Now, the second lesson which I took away from the island is that staying healthy is a major factor in success. So in conversation, Richard credited his ability to handle the real challenges that he faced in his businesses and the stresses that his businesses sometimes caused him to his great health and fitness. While he drove me up to breakfast from tennis one morning in his golf cart, he told me that he's considering writing a book on health, and I'm personally so excited. He said he realized that he has access to knowledge and doctors and health professionals that most of us do not, but he doesn't want all of that to stop us from living healthfully, so that's why he's pondered compiling everything he's learned into a book. Richard also interestingly mentioned that most diseases can be prevented if they're caught and treated early, so he actually gets a blood test every 6 months to help him catch anything very early on. He also eats super healthfully faithfully, and he also regularly eats the same thing. For 3 days at breakfast in a row, I noticed him eat 1 bowl of oatmeal with just a few berries on top, followed by 1 medium-sized slice of brown toast with some avocado on it, no salt, no pepper, and also beside that 1 hard-boiled peeled egg. And then all the meals that we had for the week, they also tended to be super healthy. We had sushi, fish, vegetarian food, fruity puddings. It was really quite healthy, the whole thing. They also have an alcohol-free cocktail menu on the bars now, as I notice a trend towards their Necker guests drinking less and less. And if you're wondering what Richard's beverage of choice is, it was a strawberry daiquiri. Okay, so we already chatted about his exercise routine. It's basically a bunch of sports that he enjoys multiple times a day, every single day. And from taking a very hilly hike with him, I can absolutely confirm that the man is significantly more fit in his 70s than I am in my 30s. The third thing I learned on the island is that you don't need to have a change the world business idea or to be super highbrow to build a great business. In our Q&A sessions with him, a few of the ladies from our group asked questions about his vision and his thoughts on conscious capitalism and other abstract ideas and concepts, and the answers he kept consistently coming out with I don't think were necessarily what the ladies were expecting. He answered all those questions with something along the lines of, I looked for bad service and problems that I noticed in businesses I was interacting with, and then I built businesses to do things better and focused on having fun while I was doing it. So for me, that was a lovely reassurance that you don't need to have some super intellectual vision or have this change the world mission. That's not super necessary to building a business empire like he did. You can simply see things being done badly in the world and decide to build a business that does it better. Oh, and now the thing which everyone has been asking me since I got back is, how exactly did I get the invite? Great question. I was invited to Necker Island as a part of the Collective. It is a mastermind group I'm a part of, full of female entrepreneurs led by the lovely Natalie McNeil. And the Collective is an official partner of Richard Branson's not-for-profit, Virgin Unite. So the Collective basically collaborates with different projects under the Virgin Unite umbrella to make a positive impact. So if you're a business owner and you really want to have a fabulous impact on the world, then I will link the details on the Collective below, and do be sure to tell them that Paige sent you. Okay, and that bottle of champagne I was telling you about, well, when I got home, I debated what business milestone or achievement I should open it at, and I debated, should I wait to pop it once we do like $1 million launch, or if I got featured in something like Forbes, but I actually decided for a goal which has a lot more personal interest to me. So be sure to watch this video next to find out exactly when I'm popping this bottle. It's probably not what you're expecting.
Even when the road gets